Welcome to Mani Monday with your independent GelMoment distributor, Redbecca. Today I'm doing a GelMoment manicure inspired by this image. This is the whole process from start to finish. I'll be using the Hard to Choose kit, our Captivate top coat, our nail spa range, and a few extras that you see here. Now let's get started. This is our moisturising nail oil. I like to apply it to my fingers to add some moisture and protection before I do a removal of my gel polish. It's also really good to add after your manicure. So a little hint I like to use, I stack up a bunch of my remover packets and then just cut them open with scissors. Saves me tearing them all open. And then you just open up the packet like this. And what I see a lot of people do is try to squeeze their finger in between the two sides of the moist sachet that's inside. You really don't need to do that. You're trying to remove the polish from the top of the nail, not the underside of your finger. So make sure that you're only putting the moist sachet on the top of the nail. And then I like to squish my finger right in over to one side of the packet and then just fold over nice and tight. If you'd like to use the sticky strip, you can just peel off this little red protective layer and that'll expose the adhesive. But I use the clips, so I just wrap it around like this and then fold in the little bottom bit and then pop the clip on over the top. I often use my thumb just to open the clip for me. You'll see me doing that a couple of times in the video. And there we go. When I've got a few more layers of polish on my nail, especially if I've used a clear over the top of some nail art like I have here, I like to give the polish a little bit of a file. Nothing too rough, you can see I'm being quite gentle there, just to break the polish of the surface of the polish, and then wrap with the packets as normal. So I've sped this up a little bit so that you can see that I basically just follow the same process for each nail. And there we go. Once I've got all my clips on, I just leave them for a little while. After about 5 to 10 minutes, this is what it looks like when you take the remover sachet off of your nail. What I've got here is I've actually used Fortify as a base coat. So this is a particularly easy removal, and this is just one layer of polish. And you can see it's just coming off the nail without really much assistance from me. Usually though, if you haven't used Fortify as a base coat, you'll probably need to have a little bit more of a gentle scraping action, and you'll see that with a few different nails later on. This one here, again, just kind of all came up just from the soaking, and there's just a little bit of Fortify left behind. So this one's a bit more tricky. The clear polish tends to come up in layers. So I just treat each layer individually and scrape away what I can, just with a gentle scratching action, and then pop it back in the remover packet, and then just keep doing that over and over until the nail is clean. So a gentle scrape. I like to get as much of the already removed polish off of the nail as possible, so that when I put it back into the packet, I know that I'm actually getting into the polish that's still on the nail. So that one just needs a little bit longer. This one here, you can see the polish has started to lift. This is a couple of layers of polish, and I didn't have the Fortify on as a base coat of this one. So it needs a little bit more assistance with the cuticle pusher tool. But again, it's a very gentle action. Areas of your nail that are damaged will hold the polish a little bit more, and so it might be a bit trickier to get them off of these areas, especially areas like this free edge of the nail where there's naturally less oil occurring, so the polish will tend to grip around a little bit more on these areas. It should still come up pretty well, but you are getting to see all my secrets here, and you might be able to tell that there's a little bit of glittery polish left underneath there. That's because I knew I was putting black over the top, so I just didn't bother removing it properly. Sometimes you can get away with not removing all of your polish, especially if you have weaker nails and you don't want to file them down too much, or you're trying to put your nails through rehab. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it here, but I am a little bit rough here, and I actually do a bit of damage to my nail. So if it's not coming up with a gentle scratch, put the fingernail back into the remover packet and let the remover do its job. Don't try and force it. If you scratch too hard, you'll tear up a layer of the nail like I have here. So that one came off nice and easy as well. It's the benefits of the Fortify as a base coat. And it's so easy that you can actually even just use your fingernail sometimes. I do recommend using the cuticle tool though, because it gives you a much nicer finish. So now I'm going to clean up my cuticles. I'm using the Refine, which is a cuticle gel. So you just apply it around the cuticle and the nail. And it just helps to remove those sort of invisible cuticles that lead to your polish not sticking quite as well to your nail, and it gives you a much cleaner, more refined surface to put your polish onto. So give that a minute or so to help soften the cuticles, and then use your cuticle tool just to gently press back on the cuticles. Sometimes I find I don't use the Refine cuticle gel if I'm going to have a shower first or something like that. I'll push my cuticles back once my hands are nice and soft. If I'm doing a polish application straight away though, I try to keep my nails as dry as I can. That's going to make the manicure last a lot longer. So I do recommend using the Refined Cuticle Gel if you want to do your nails all in one go. And then I just use the cleanser wipe to wipe away any residue that's left behind. And also to clean my tool. Next up, I trim my cuticles just with our little cuticle nipper. This is only a necessary step if you happen to get hangnails or have little bits of skin that you might tear or chew at. I know that since I started using the cuticle clippers, my hands have looked a lot nicer, and I don't seem to have as many little bits that tend to find their way into my mouth. So like this one here looks a lot better. Just a little clip nice close to the skin, and it can really clean up the nail and protect you from those bits that might otherwise tear away. And again, just the alcohol wipe to make sure your tools are nice and hygienic for next time. Next up, I'm using Revitalize, which is a sort of a nail recovery nail spa treatment. It's a layered formula, so it needs a good shake, but it does separate out quite quickly, so you'll probably see me rattle the bottle a couple of times during this application. You paint it straight onto the nail, just like nail polish. It's not a lacquer or anything like that though, so really you're letting it absorb into the nail. And so you just paint it straight on and then wait for it to dry. Once the nail looks dry, the formula's absorbed into your nail. And I forgot that I'd done that now, so I did it again. You can kind of see some spots have started to dry. And then next up we've got Purify. Again, this is only necessary if you find that you have oily nails. I've been moisturizing my hands earlier, and because I'd used the nail oil as the first step of my removal today, I decided to use the Purify just to make sure that my polish would stick. So it's similar application to the Revitalize, just paint it straight onto the nail and then wait for it to dry before you apply your polish. And my nails are looking pretty healthy. So then I'm ready for my polish application. So I start as normal. I would shape my nail with the white side of the file, and then I use the grey side to lightly buff. As my nails have gotten healthier, I do less and less of the buffing process. It's one of those things that you try it the first few times, and then if you might discover that you don't need to buff quite as much as you used to. And then the cleanser to make sure that you're getting rid of any residue from the buffing process, and to make sure that your nails are nice and clean for the polish to go up. I'm using Orchid Majestique today, and so I give the bottle a little bit of a roll between my hands or on the table, just to make sure that the formula's combined, and then you're ready to paint. Have to bear with me a bit while I try and get out of my own light. We start by applying a couple of dots into the center of each nail, then I realise I'm in my own shadow. I try to fix it, but it doesn't really work. So with an almost clean brush, you go back into those dots and then just nudge the polish towards that cuticle line, careful not to actually touch the cuticles. And that helps you get that nice clean cuticle smile line, and then you can drag the polish to the edge of the nail. You might not need to go over the nail multiple times. With this one, I did give the bottle quite a bit of a shake, so I had a few more air bubbles than I would normally have. So you can see me brushing them out a few times. And another important step while you're doing your application is to make sure that you cap the free edge of the nail, and that just means sweeping the polish across the very top edge of the nail, the bit that you would tap on a table. You can see me doing that there. Sometimes once I've capped the free edge, I like to do another swoosh across the top of the nail, just in case I've made any bobbly end bits. And then I have a check and make sure that I've actually gotten all my nail. And I discovered when I did that this time that I'd actually missed side of my nail, and then I just topped up the little polish, and then because I tucked my finger under, I had actually knocked polish off of the top of that one as well. This is why I like my 2-finger lamp, because you can imagine me doing this process with 4 fingers. The first finger doesn't stand a chance by the time I finish the 4th. So under the light for a minute, and I've time-lapsed this so you don't need to wait for the whole minute. So after a minute with under the light, which is self-timed, the light goes out and your polish is looking pretty good. Right there, that's just one coat of Orchid Majestique. Because I knew I was going to go with Enchanted Night over the top, I only did the one, but normally I might do two coats of polish. And then it's the same process for the application of polish, as long as you haven't touched your nails. If you've touched your nails, you might want to give them another clean with the alcohol wipe, but because I was putting another coat straight over the top, just paint directly over the top. Enchanted Night's a gorgeous colour. It's kind of a purpley translucent gel base, and there's a beautiful bright blue mica shimmer in it. So it goes really nicely over colours like Orchid, and over kind of darker colours you get a bit of a beetle sort of a look to it, and it also mixes in quite nicely with others as well. I think it reminds me of a car paint polish. And you'll find sometimes that your second coats are a little bit more forgiving as well. Then back under the light. Just make sure that you move your polish out of the way before you turn the light on. And 1 minute later, the light has gone off. And that's the Enchanted Night is cured. And I'm finishing up with a top coat of Glitz Captivate. Same process again, just give it a nice roll. Because we're working with a top coat that's got glitter pigment particles in it, you want to make sure that it's nicely combined. So shiny. And because there's quite a lot of glitter load in these top coats, you actually don't need to do anything too fancy to get a really good coverage of glitter with them. So you can see I've just painted it directly on the nail. No fancy dabbing or anything like that. Just painted it on like a regular polish and under the light. And there we have it, a beautiful sparkly blue, coated with the Captivate top coat. It's fun, it's festive, and it's sparkly. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like, comment, share and follow. You can find more from me on my blog at redbecca.com.au, and I hang out on Instagram and Facebook as GelMoment by Beck.